So crime is a pretty hot topic for the country this week. President Trump signed an executive order to extend the federal takeover of D.C. and mentioned other cities might be next, including Chicago and maybe even New York. And he's working with Republicans on a comprehensive crime bill to tackle the problem. So joining me for more on this is the Associate Professor, Master of Public Safety at the University of Virginia, Dr. Oscar Odom. Also joining us is founder and president, citizen behind the badge, Craig Floyd. So there was an AP Nordic poll, and it found 53% of Americans approve of Trump's take on crime. 81% of Americans are very concerned about crime in their cities. So, Dr. Odom, obviously, I mean, politically, this is a no-brainer for Trump, especially since I think the progressive criminal justice reform has failed.
Absolutely. And as a professor at the University of Virginia and retired NYPD, the data doesn't lie. Evidence-based and data-driven. The data is showing what needs to be done. The data is showing what is being done. For example, there has been a decrease in 17% of homicides across the U.S. compared to the same time as last year, since Trump has taken over office. Also, a 20% decrease in robberies across the country. So this is going in the right direction. A lot of times, if you would also talk to people in these different neighborhoods in which these incidents are taking place, regardless of demographics, they will say that we want the police in here, we want more enforcement, we're happy and we're glad. Despite politics, they're happy because what is being done by the president.
Yeah, is anyone asking the actual residents of these urban areas who are now becoming safer and they could walk their streets and have their kids walk their streets and not have to worry about gangbangers or illegal drugs or guns? I mean, that's the focus. That should always be the focus, and that we're losing that. And you know, Craig, so the success of D.C.'s federal takeover has made the city safer, no question about it. Even Muriel Bowser, the mayor, has admitted that. And to her credit, you know, thank the president for doing that. I'm sure the coordination between all the different agencies is probably a little harder than it looks, though.
Well, what we hear from the top officials at the D.C. Police Department, what we hear from the chairman of the D.C. Police Union, is that this partnership is welcome and it's working. All right. As we just noted, the crime in D.C. is down dramatically since the federal surge that President Trump directed. We now have gone 13 days without a homicide. We did have one earlier this week, but nearly 2 weeks without a homicide in D.C. is unheard of. Violent crime down 26% throughout the city. You know, what's interesting to me, Rob, is that the critics of what President Trump has done in D.C. are the same ones that created this mess that we're in.
Yeah.
After George Floyd's death in 2020, they defunded police departments across this country by hundreds of millions of dollars. They enacted progressive federal policies. And the result has been a rise in crime and fewer police officers. D.C. is down some 800 officers below their authorized level of 4,000 officers patrolling D.C. They needed help. They got the help from the federal government. And thank goodness for that and for President Trump taking charge.
Yeah, when Trump does it, it's an invasion and it's unconstitutional. But when Kathy Hochul, the Democratic governor of New York, put the National Guard in their fatigues with their weapons in the subways, or when the governor of New Mexico, who's doing it right now in Albuquerque, having the National Guard, though not in fatigues and, you know, in polo shirts, but helping. Somehow I get the mixed messages here from the Democrats when they're using it. Chicago is probably next and should be. They had 6 murders last weekend, including a little boy. You don't hear about that. But Governor Pritzker, he's leading the resistance.
Yeah, Chicago's a mess. It has been for quite a while now. Unfortunately, they elected the wrong mayor to lead the city of Chicago. A defund the police mayor. We've seen it in major cities across this country. It doesn't work. I mean, my 2-year-old granddaughter could figure out that fewer dollars for police, fewer officers patrolling our streets, you're going to have a rise in crime. Now we're refunding the police. We're seeing a decrease in crime, more people that want to become police officers. And what President Trump has done in D.C. is a refunding of police on steroids, and it's working dramatically.
So, Dr. Odom, you know, Do you think having the National Guard in our cities is a short-term show of force, or do you think it's more of a longer-term solution?
It may be a longer term solution, because what happens is, in policing, we always say that when you have more police officers out there or people out there, we say that we have omnipresence. There's less likely that people will commit crimes when they see a police officer or even the National Guard standing right there. It cuts down dramatically on what's taking place. And until certain places can get things under control, this may be needed in certain areas. And one of the key ways to do it is, besides asking the politicians, ask the people who live in these different communities, ask them what do they want and how do they feel. That should be the test. That should be the barometer, because certain times when politicians look at certain things, I always say, why don't you do a ride along and come and see what's going on? And if you feel you have the solution, I'll let you get out of the car and you go solve it, as opposed to me as an officer going to solve it. So I want them, besides talking the talk, I want them to walk the walk. Get out there in the front and see what's actually going on and tell me how you do it. And also, maybe we should have a requirement that you live in those neighborhoods that you represent.
Yeah, exactly. Dr. Oscar Odom, Greg Floyd, good to see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.